I left my husband after earning double his salary, believing he was just dead weight and expected him to beg for me back. But instead, I now face loneliness, watching him thrive without me. 3 months ago, I touched the sky with my hands. After years of sacrificing my nights, of swallowing my pride in endless meetings, and of working twice as hard as my male colleagues, I finally made it. I was appointed Director of Operations. It was not just a new title on my business card. It was a validation, a coronation. The salary that came with the position was astonishing, a figure that suddenly placed me in a completely new financial stratosphere. For the first time in my life, I felt real power, absolute independence. It was as if all the doors in the world had opened for me. I came home that night floating on a cloud of euphoria. I expected my husband, Gabriel, to share my joy, to open a bottle of champagne and celebrate my victory as if it were his own. And he did, in his own way. He hugged me, he told me he was proud of me, but there was something in his eyes, a kind of resignation, as if my success were an event that was happening to him, not to us. During dinner, while I talked nonstop about my new plans, my responsibilities, the team I would lead, he remained silent, nodding from time to time. His calm felt like a bucket of cold water on my fire. That night, as I lay in bed next to him, a cold and crystal-clear idea began to form in my mind. I looked at Gabriel as he slept. He is a good man, a kind, stable man, who during our 8 years of marriage had been my biggest supporter. He worked as a history teacher in a high school, a noble job, but a modest one. His salary, which had once been the pillar of our family economy, now seemed insignificant next to mine. Suddenly, our dynamic, the one we had built over years, felt obsolete. I realized that many of the decisions I had made, the things I had tolerated, were based on a need for security that no longer existed. I needed a partner, a companion, but now I was the main provider, the economic powerhouse of the relationship. The balance had been broken forever. And in that revelation I saw Gabriel not as my husband, but as a responsibility, a side project. I felt a wave of clarity. I did not need him anymore. Not in the way a woman needs a man. And if I did not need him, what was the point of staying together? The decision to divorce was not impulsive. It was the result of a cold and logical calculation. For the next 2 weeks, I observed our life together through a new lens, that of my newly acquired power. I started to notice all the little things that had previously gone unnoticed, the way he left his clothes on the floor, assuming that I would pick them up. His lack of ambition to look for a better-paying job. His quiet and unexciting hobbies, like gardening or reading history books. Everything that once seemed endearing or comforting to me now seemed like a burden. Our conversations became tense. I talked about market strategies, acquisitions, and business trips to Singapore. He talked to me about the difficulty of getting his students interested in the French Revolution. We lived on different planets. I felt like a race car tied to a cart. I needed to surround myself with people who vibrated on my same frequency, people who understood the adrenaline of success, not the satisfaction of a steady salary and summer vacations. One night, I sat with him in the living room and I told him. I did not beat around the bush. I was direct, as I would be in a business meeting. I explained to him that my life had changed course, that my goals and aspirations had evolved beyond what our relationship could offer me. I told him that I had become a self-sufficient woman who no longer needed the traditional support of a husband. I told him it was time for both of us to follow our own paths so that I could reach my full potential without restrictions. I expected tears, I expected pleas, I expected him to fight for me, to promise me he would change, to remind me of our love and the years we had shared. That is what a man who truly loves you would do. Would he not hold on with tooth and nail? Instead, Gabriel remained silent for a long time, his face pale. Then, he simply nodded. He said with a voice strangely devoid of emotion, "If that is what you think will make you happy, I will not oppose it." His passivity was the final insult. It was the confirmation that I was right. He did not have the fighting spirit, the passion. His acceptance was the definitive proof that I had made the right decision. The divorce process was quick and surprisingly easy, mainly because I was incredibly generous. I did not want anyone to say that my success had made me a cruel person. I let him keep the car, which was in his name anyway. We split our modest savings in half, and since I was the one who left, he stayed in our rented apartment while I moved into a luxurious loft in the city center, closer to my office. It was a clean, efficient cut, a termination of contract. The first weeks after the move were a real honeymoon with myself. I dove headfirst into my new life. I worked 16 hours a day, fueled by caffeine and ambition. On the weekends, I explored my new freedom. I bought designer clothes without looking at the price. I dined at Michelin-starred restaurants. I went out with my colleagues, powerful and interesting people who spoke my same language. I felt liberated, powerful, invincible. During all this time, I waited for his call. I was sure it was a matter of time. In my mind, Gabriel was in our old apartment, alone, surrounded by my memories, realizing the terrible mistake it had been to let me go so easily. I imagined his sleepless nights, his regret growing with each passing day. I mentally prepared myself for the moment his name would appear on my phone. I would have to be strong, remind him that the decision was made, but maybe, just maybe, if he begged enough, I might consider giving him a second chance on my terms. But the call never came. The days turned into weeks. There were no text messages, no emails, no attempts to contact me through mutual friends. Nothing. Absolute silence. At first I interpreted it as pride. He was too hurt to admit his mistake. But as time went on, a small, annoying seed of doubt began to sprout in my mind. Was it possible that he was not suffering? Was it possible that my absence had not left the crater in his life that I had assumed? The first crack in my new and shiny armor appeared a month ago. A mutual friend, unaware of the bomb she was about to drop, posted a photo on her social media. It was from a hiking trail. In the photo, there was a group of people smiling, and in the center was Gabriel. He looked nothing like the man I remembered. He had lost some weight. His face was tanned, and he looked radiant. He was wearing sportswear and smiling at the camera with a genuine and carefree joy. I started to watch him, not obsessively, but with a persistent curiosity. I created an anonymous profile so I could see his posts without him knowing, and what I saw baffled me. His life, instead of having stopped, seemed to have flourished. He had joined a running club. He posted photos of his race times, of participation medals in 10-kilometer races. He started going to the gym. The photos that used to be of his history books were now of mountain landscapes and healthy meals that he prepared himself. 2 weeks ago, I saw him in person. It was a coincidence. I was leaving a meeting at a cafe downtown, and he ran past on the opposite sidewalk with headphones and sportswear. He did not see me. He was focused, with an expression of determination on his face. He looked fit, strong. It was a version of Gabriel that I did not know, a version that had never existed during our marriage. And for the first time, I felt something that was not power or liberation. It was a pang of something like envy. Last night was the last straw. Another photo. This time from a friend of his. They were at a bar celebrating something. Gabriel was in the center of the group laughing out loud, and next to him was a woman. They were not doing anything compromising, but she was touching his arm and looking at him with obvious admiration. And he was not pulling away. He looked comfortable, happy, surrounded by people. Meanwhile, I was alone in my luxury loft, eating a takeout salad and checking work emails at 10 at night. It has been 3 months. 3 months since I made the most logical and powerful decision of my life. 3 months since I freed myself from a marriage that was holding me back. And tonight, sitting here in this huge and silent apartment that is a monument to my success, I feel more alone than ever. The initial euphoria has faded, leaving a void that money and power cannot fill. I thought the divorce was the end of one chapter and the beginning of a better one, but now it seems that the only one who has started a better chapter is him. Where are the pleading calls? Where are the messages of regret? Where is the devastated man who cannot live without me? He does not exist. He has been replaced by a fit, happy, and social stranger who seems to have completely forgotten our 8 years together. It is as if I had never existed, as if our marriage had been a simple, unimportant prologue in the book of his life. He did not care about me either. It was so easy for him to erase me and move on. I was the one who had the courage to make the difficult decision. I was the one who freed him from a relationship that was no longer working. He should be grateful to me. Instead, he has punished me with his silence, with his happiness. It is a slap in the face. Every photo of him smiling is a dagger in my heart. Every kilometer he runs is as if he is running further and further away from me. The truth is that I miss him. I miss his calm, his kindness, the way he made me tea at night. I thought I did not need him anymore, but now I realize that what I needed was not his money, but him. But I have built such a high wall with my success and my pride that I don't know how to tear it down. And he seems so happy in his new world that he does not even look towards my side of the wall. I made a decision based on logic, but my heart has been left behind. And the worst part of all is that it seems he's never looked back. Popular comments from Reddit. Anonymous user 1. You treat your husband like an employee you fire because his performance is no longer necessary, and then you are surprised that he does not beg you to rehire him. You left him in the coldest and most calculating way possible, and you expected an emotional and passionate reaction. His happiness is not a punishment for you, it is his reward for getting rid of someone who saw him as an accessory. Response from the original poster. I did not see him as an accessory, I saw him as my partner. But the dynamic of the partnership changed and it needed to be restructured. His refusal to fight for that restructuring was what ended everything. His current happiness is just a facade to hide how hurt he is. Anonymous user 2. He has punished me with his happiness. This is one of the most self-centered phrases I have ever read. His life does not revolve around you. His happiness is not a strategy to hurt you. He is simply living his life and finding happiness after you broke his heart. You should be happy for him if you ever truly cared about him. Response from the original poster. Of course I cared. That is why this hurts so much. But nobody recovers from an 8-year divorce in 3 months and becomes a happy athlete. It is an act, and it is a cruel act. Anonymous user 3. It seems your liberation was not from him, but from the part of you that loved him. You left him because your ego, inflated by your new status, told you that you could aspire to something better. And now that you realize that the something better is lonely and empty, you want him to come rescue you from the decision you yourself made. Response from the original poster. I don't want him to rescue me. I want him to show a little decency and acknowledge the pain we both should be feeling. His apparent lack of pain is what is so insulting. It invalidates our entire history together. Update 1. I needed answers. The silence and the photos on social media were driving me crazy. I decided to do something I probably should not have done, but the uncertainty was unbearable. I called his sister, Laura, with whom I always had a good relationship. I used the excuse of asking about their mother. After a few minutes of small talk, I could not hold back anymore, and I asked her about Gabriel. I told her that I had seen him in photos and that he seemed to be doing very well. Laura's response was polite, but with a steel edge. She told me, yes, he is doing incredibly well. The divorce was the best thing that has ever happened to him. I was in shock. I asked her what she meant, and then Laura told me everything. She told me that for the last 2 years of our marriage, Gabriel had lived in a constant state of anxiety, feeling that he was never enough for me, that my ambition, which he initially admired, had become a crushing pressure. She said that he felt as if he were constantly failing me, that my happiness depended on achievements that he could never give me. Laura told me that when I asked for the divorce, he did not fight because he felt a strange sense of relief. She said he was devastated to lose the woman he loved, but at the same time he felt freed from the burden of trying to live up to me. He started running and playing sports not to run away from me, but to channel all the negative energy and stress he had accumulated over the years. And in doing so, he rediscovered himself. She told me that Gabriel does not hate me, but that he sees me as a closed chapter in his life that taught him a lot about what he does not want in a partner. She ended the conversation by saying, "He is happy now, Sophia. Please let him be happy." I hung up the phone feeling as if I had been hollowed out. My whole narrative, my whole story of an abandoned and suffering husband was a lie. The person who was suffering in the relationship, apparently, was him. Popular comments from Reddit about the update. Anonymous user 4. Wow, The truth hurts, does it not? His sister made it crystal clear to you. He is not punishing you with his happiness. His happiness is the direct result of having gotten away from you. You were a source of stress and anxiety for him for years. You are the villain of his story, not the heroine he lost. Response from the original poster. I don't think I'm a villain. I was also under incredible pressure at work. If he felt that way, why did he never tell me? Communication is a two-way street. His silence was also part of the problem. Anonymous user 5. He did not fight because he felt a strange sense of relief. This sentence should be a lesson for you. You did him a favor, you gave him the way out that he did not dare to take, and instead of crawling back, he has taken the opportunity to build a life that he truly enjoys. It is a success story, it is just not yours. Response from the original poster. I don't know if it is a success story. It seems more like an escape. Instead of facing the problems in our relationship, he simply ran away, and now they call it success. I don't understand it. Anonymous user 6. Please, let him be happy. His sister's advice is the best you could receive. Close your anonymous profiles, stop stalking him, and focus on your own life. Maybe if you take some time for introspection, you can understand why your success feels so empty. Response from the original poster. I'm not stalking him, I was simply worried. And my success does not feel empty. My life feels empty without him. There is a difference. Final update. I guess I needed to see it with my own eyes. Last night, after the call with Laura, I did something stupid. I drove to our old neighborhood. I parked at the end of the street, where he could not see my car. I waited. I felt like a private detective in my own ruined life. After an hour, the living room light came on. I could see his silhouette through the window, and then the front door opened. Gabriel came out. He was not dressed for running. He was wearing a nice shirt and jeans. He looked relaxed. Behind him came the woman from the bar photo. She said something to him, and he laughed. A genuine laugh that I could faintly hear from my car. She closed the door with her own key. They said goodbye with a kiss. It was not a passionate kiss, but a tender, familiar one, the kind of kiss you give someone with whom you have a real connection. She left in her car, and he went back into the apartment, our apartment. And there was the irrefutable proof. It was not a facade, it was not an act. It was real. He was moving on. He had someone new, someone who had a key to his home, and I was sitting in the dark in an expensive car alone. The irony was so crushing that it almost suffocated me. I got everything I thought I wanted, the power, the money, the independence. And in doing so, I lost the only thing that really mattered. I drove back to my empty loft. For the first time in 3 months, I cried. I did not cry for my wounded pride or for the injustice. I cried for him. I cried for the good man I let go because my ego would not let me see clearly. I cried for the happiness I foolishly threw away. There is no great revelation here. There is no plan to get him back. It is already too late. There is only this cold, hard truth. I lost him. And I realize with a painful clarity that he does not need to beg me to come back. It is I who, in silence, will forever beg a ghost that will never return. Popular comments from Reddit on the final update. Anonymous user 1. This is the saddest and most honest update you could have written. It is brutal, but it is real. Sometimes the consequences of our actions are irrevocable. I hope that this pain is the beginning of a true introspection for you. I wish you luck. Response from the original poster. Thank you. I don't know if it is the beginning of anything. Right now it just feels like the end. Anonymous user 7. Finally, self-awareness. It is a shame it had to come to this. Your story is a cautionary tale for all those who confuse professional success with personal happiness. They are not the same thing. I'm happy for Gabriel. He has found peace, and I sincerely hope that you find it too one day. Response from the original poster. I hope so too. Thank you for reading. Anonymous user 8. It is I who in silence will forever beg a ghost that will never return. What a powerful and desolate sentence. You have hit rock bottom, and sometimes that is necessary to start climbing up. There is nothing we can say to ease your pain, but at least now you see the truth. That is the first step. Response from the original poster. I guess so. Thank you all for listening. even when I did not want to hear what you had to say.